And I am going to start reading something to you that I wrote the other day. As a yoga teacher, to be authentic, a person really needs to have their own practice. So I cannot be a yoga teacher. I mean, I could be, I suppose, but not a worthwhile yoga teacher if all I do is teach and don't have my own practice, because I need to grow in order to teach. And so I just wrote this thing and I wanted to share it with you because I think especially at this time of year, as it gets cold and we turn to huddle inward, the instinct is to get into bed under blankets and to turn on a movie or the television and have something warm to drink and not move and dance around and do practices that we know are good for us. So it's just a general contractive feeling rather than an expansive feeling. And I wanted you all to know that I go through it too. So I entitled this, Eating My Brussels Sprouts. I feel guilty for resisting my yoga practice, which sets off a negative spiral. If I take it a step further and allow myself to skip a day, it will be twice as hard to get back into it tomorrow. But I don't really feel like it. Some yogini, I tell myself, fraud, wannabe. I feel myself sinking into the emotional sludge of self-loathing. But it's too much trouble to change my jeans for leggings and too cold to take my socks off. I sit with this, watching my bratty behavior until I have to suppress a smile from myself. Okay, then don't practice, the mother in me snaps. You can just watch me while I do a few easy poses. We'll do something fun as soon as I'm done. I put on a ratty pair of sweatpants, get onto all fours, onto my mat. Cat cow never doesn't feel good. I feel the breath in my back, already thanking me. But I have to keep it cool because I've told myself I'm not in the mood to do this. I pull a leg up into a knee down lunge, gently twisting as I make big circles with my opposite arm. My heart feels the energy and is secretly egging me on. I step the forward leg back to a plank and then sink into Ashta Pranam, 8 points touching. I don't even think about the other side. It simply moves the same way with fluid gratitude. I'll be done myself. I'll be done soon, I tell my cranky self with a wink of the eye. Down dog leads me to lift the right leg high, open my hip, wiggle my foot. My leg springs forward, propelled by muscle memory. And even though I'm not in the mood, I rise up to high lunge, trying not to stick my tongue out as I come into prayer pose, Anjali Mudra. Soon I stop thinking. It's already written that from here I will begin a sun salutation, sneak in a warrior two, followed by Natarajasan. I don't have to do anything. I don't want to. I don't even have to do the second side. But I can't help it. I go for it with gusto. A Trikonasana followed by a twisted version, and then a twisted Ardha Chandrasana. I can't stop, even though I promised her I'd only be a minute. In fact, I look over, but she has disappeared. I guess I'll play alone. You don't have to do yoga. If you do, all poses are optional. They can be modified, amplified, individualized according to your want. Take it as slow as molasses, and know that your spot for child's pose will never disappear. As we get ready today, and you want to join me, feel free. We'll play at watching our mental resistance and at blowing it kisses as we move in any way we want to. So just a little bit of acknowledgement that we all have resistance, and it's okay. It's okay. All right. I am bringing you the skeleton here today so you can see some things that we're going to work on. So I'm bringing the camera up here and turning him to the back. So he's got some cervical issues here in his neck, but I want to talk about the spine and particularly about the shoulder girdle. So here is the spine, cervical spine, back of the neck, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, and right here, these fused vertebrae, that's the sacrum. Here's another side view of it. And so you see that this is the tailbone, but it sticks out. Here's a lordotic curve in the lumbar spine, and you can't see it too well, but there's one in the cervical and a bit of a kyphotic curve there. Okay, so why am I showing you this? So we're going to be working today a lot on shoulders. Hope this is working. And I want you all to notice the collarbone, the clavicle. So that is the topmost bone. It comes up from the sternum that connects the top ribs. So if you take your hands and put them on your own collarbones, put one hand on each collarbone, notice that little triangular shape right above the sternum, and then feel the sternum where they connect. So the clavicle or the collarbone is like a hanger that connects the humerus bone, the upper arm bone, and together this forms the shoulder joint. So the top of the humerus bone fits into that socket of the clavicle. And then the other part of the shoulder girdle, and see them and see how big they are. We're going to work on neck and shoulders today in particular. Also, one last thing with the skeleton here is I would like you to notice the amazing symmetry in the body. Look at the shoulder blades and look at how they, to a large extent, parallel the shape of the pelvic bones in the pelvic girdle. So shoulder girdle has the scapula, butterfly bones, and the butterfly bones in the pelvis are very similar. These are connected to the femur bones. This is connected to the humerus bone. So little anatomy lesson there, and we'll get going. But I wanted you to be aware of the anatomical architecture of what we're working on today. So once again, bring your hands to your collarbone. And most people don't know about the collarbone unless they break it when they're little. Take your hands, let me see. Take your hands now toward the shoulders. And if you use your index finger right before you get to the shoulder head, you'll feel a little indentation here underneath the collarbone on each side. If you press your index fingers in there, what you're actually feeling is the scapula, the shoulder blade. So probably you didn't know that the shoulder blade also folds over in front a little bit. And that's important because of how we're going to move today. So knowing that the shoulder bones, shoulder blades can slide left and right a little bit, up and down, and that the collarbone here is like the hanger, keeping it all together. So put your hands on your shoulders, all right? And fingertips, really keep the thumbs off. Sit up tall. And just let's bring our elbows forward. Notice what you feel and notice if it's different on both sides. Lift as high as you can. See if you can feel the scapula, the shoulder blades on the back body lifting up as you lift your elbows. Go as high as you can without causing yourself any discomfort. Then open up, go very slowly so you can feel whatever it is you're feeling. Come down with the elbows parallel to your side body. And then just do a few gentle circles like this. Notice what you're feeling in the upper spine, the thoracic spine. Now, if you're feeling anything in the cervical spine, behind the neck, you probably have tight trapezius muscles. Let's go the other way, going down and back. So neck and shoulder muscles are very often tight at the same time. Sometimes it'll be the neck that causes the back pain. Sometimes it's the back muscles constricting the neck. Okay, excellent. Bring your hands out to the sides, fingertips down on either side. And then flatten the right hand on the mat, lean into it, lift your left hand just a little bit off the mat. Push into the right hand and begin to lift the left arm until it's shoulder level. Hold it out there. So the humerus bone is now on the same level with the clavicle. And now let it hang down. So get this sense again of the hanger. Other side, left hand down, lift the right slowly, and think of the miraculous ways in which we move. The bones are architecture, the muscles power the bones, the joints allow them to move. Now both sets of fingertips down. We're going to lift the arms and we're going to open the palms forward to lift them up. And now notice what's happening as you bring the hands together to the shoulder blades. Bring the hands together. Exhale down, mind's eye on the shoulder blades. Hands to heart center. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And now as you exhale, see if you can let the shoulder blades slide down a little bit. Inhale, bring your hands to the front of the shoulders. Push them out wide as you exhale. So the whole breathing process through the thoracic and belly cavities has a whole lot to do with where our shoulders and our shoulder blades are positioned. So I'm going to show you something sideways, and then I'm going to ask you to imitate it. I think you've heard me talk about this made-up pose, slump asana. My upper back is rounded, my chin is low, or my head might be jutted out forward, and I'm either on my computer or my phone or driving my car. If you will all do this, it won't take much talent. You're all probably used to it. Looking down in front of your legs, bring your hands to your kneecaps lightly. Now, chin to chest. Look at your belly. Imagine what the back of your spine looks like, how curved it might be. Take an inhale. The diaphragm is pushing down so the belly gets some air in it. And lift up, straight back. Soften the fingers. Pull the heads of the shoulders back. So come back into slump asana. Inhale, open up with a straight back. One more time, this time with a little more awareness on the abdomen. Inhale, trying to get breath down there as well. Open up. This time, lift the arms up again. Exhale down to your sides. So we are working on this upper body posture to get ourselves as straight as possible, to maximize our breathing, and to try to let go of that neck and shoulder restriction that becomes even more exaggerated in the cold weather. When we're cold, we tend to hunch more. So come onto all fours, bring your knees and the insides of your feet together, and see if you can sit down on your heels in Vajrasana. If this doesn't work for you, you could put a block in between your legs or sit on any kind of height. And this is just a good way to not automatically get into slump asana. We tend to sit up straighter if our heels are under the sit bones, the ischium. So just a little bit of experimentation to find out where we might be a little constricted today. We're going to inhale, lift up. See how high you can go without feeling any pain in the shoulders. Exhale. Now inhale, look up and see if you can pull your wrists back on top of your shoulders. If you have any rotator cuff issues or any pain, don't force the pulling back. Just notice. Keeping your fingertips pointed up. Notice what you feel on either side of the spine. First, in the low spine. Is there a difference in the right and left side? Now inhale, pull the belly button in and up, Uddiyana Bandha, and see if that takes away any low back discomfort. Exhale. Inhale to cactus arms. Bring them together. Keep the upper arms level with the tops of the shoulders. Bring the elbows together. Scapula are coming further apart now as we round the shoulders inward. That doesn't mean we're slumping. Keep the elbows together, palms together. Notice the slight stretch through the shoulder blades can become quite an effort. Inhale, open up again. Exhale, pull them back just a little bit. Inhale, dipping to the right a little bit. Exhale to neutral. Inhale to the left. Exhale forward. Good. Drop the arms and just roll the shoulders forwards 3 times and back. Keep the elbows bent. Round the wrists. Other way. Lift the arms out one more time. Cross left over right. With the hands, try to reach for the lateral edges of the shoulder blades and pull them out. So your fingertips are trying to pull your back toward your front. And open up. Cross the other arm on top. Gentle pull. And exhale. So we're going to come down now into puppy pose. I'm coming sideways so you can see. We're on all fours, knees are under the hips. And I want you to notice that my hips don't go back or forward as I stretch my hands out long, lengthening my arms. So my chest begins to come down toward the mat. If you can, bring your fingertips onto the mat like little claws in front of you. Now, I say if you can, I actually cannot do that very comfortably because my left shoulder is quite a bit higher than my right, and this puts too much pressure on the arm extension for me in the right side. So if that's hard for you, just keep the palm flat. Make sure you're not pushing your butt back, but this is an arm and shoulder stretch. So your heart is sinking down, your head stays up. Feel the stretch in the side body as well as underneath the arms. Keep the elbows lifted. Inhale up. Bring the hands back and sink back into child's pose. Take a few breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. And coming up now onto all fours, we're going to come to rabbit pose. So staying on all fours, nice and aligned. And notice how protracted the arms and shoulders are. So protracted is when the arm bone is pulled into the shoulder socket. And retracted is when it's pulling away, like we just did in puppy. So this is a counter movement to the puppy pose. All fours. Now, bend your elbows back. You're lowering your chest. Reach for your heels with your hands and lower your head. Don't worry about your knee to hip alignment now. Just hold your hips. Now, on the inhale, might not be a big movement. Slowly pull your hips forward. You might roll a little bit further onto the top of the head. Try to keep your toes down, touching the mat. And exhale, roll back, hips toward heels. Inhale. You don't have to hold on tightly. You just want to get that sensation of protracted humerus bones. Exhale. Let them pull out. So we've all got that Mr. Bojangle capacity to kind of loosely hang together. And when we tighten the fit in the joints, we're able to contract our muscles more thoroughly. Last time here, hold it if you can. Notice what you're feeling in your upper arms. Notice where you're holding tension that you don't need to. Can you relax the hips a little bit? Just let them soften. Exhale. Come back onto all fours. Shake the hips out from side to side. And then begin to walk the knees back. Straighten the legs, lower the elbows, lower the thighs. Lower onto the forehead. Stretch the arms forward above your head and bring the palms together. Bhumi Pranam, bowing to the earth. Inner sides of the feet touch. Take a deep breath and try to lengthen through the arms and through the legs. Inhale. Release on the exhale. Lift the head. Slide the hands on the mat down so your wrists are pretty close to your low ribs. So keep your head off the mat for this one. And at a certain point, I'm going to ask you to bring your chin to your chest and see if you can look at your belly. So make sure you feel your quadriceps, the tops of your thighs on the mat, the tops of the feet, the knees, the toenails. Chest and face are off the mat. Hands are on the mat, and almost all of us automatically will go to having our elbows out like wings. So notice that even though the fingers are forward, which hopefully they are, instead of the elbows coming into alignment here, our natural tendency is to pull them out. All right, now go ahead and lower the forehead and pull the elbows in toward each other. Let them fall out. Pull them in. Lift the head. Push the hands in just a little bit to come up into a baby cobra. Allow the elbows to come out to the side. Pull them in and push down and come up a little more. Any pain in the low back? Pull the belly in and up. Push down a little more. Hug the elbows in. Exhale. Forehead down. Take a restful breath. Inhale, lift head, lift chest a little. Let the elbows hang out. Bring your chin to your chest so you can look at your belly and watch what happens as you pull your elbows in. You lift up and your belly pulls in because your belly muscles help the arm muscles to come in. Good. Onto the forehead. Inhale. Exhale, letting go of tension. Now let's take the hands off the mat. Round your fingers a little bit. And look at each arm. You'll notice the elbow is probably behind the wrist. Bring the legs together again. I'm going to ask you to try as much as you can to pull the elbows over the wrists. Notice what you're feeling in the muscles under the humerus bones and in the armpit. Looking forward on the mat. Inhale, pull the belly in, push into the fingers. Try to keep the elbows over the wrists. Now relax the neck, turn the head side to side. Lift up a little more, belly in. Keep the belly in to tone the back. Lift, bending the knees, lift the feet, coming down. And circle the ankles. And go the other way. Flatten the hands, lower the feet. Bring the hands back down close to the low ribs. Pull the arms and elbows in close to the body now. Get that same feeling you had in Bhumi Pranam, stretching out through the crown of the head, long in the legs, toes pointing down. Think of that hanger of the shoulder girdle, the clavicle. Notice where your shoulders are. Are they up near the ears? And can you pull them down? Do this a few times back and forth, actually feeling those shoulder blades tipping up and down. So the shoulder blades are kind of a bit of a triangular shape. They remind me of the continent of Africa. So when we pull them up, that bottom point comes out sideways a little bit. Pull them down as much as you can. On the inhale, lift up, hugging the arms in. And then look over your right shoulder without moving the right shoulder. And then just turn your head to neutral and look over the left shoulder. Back to neutral. Pull up a little bit, lift the legs again. Makarasana. Now pull your belly in and fill out the low back so it feels straight. And with the elbows hugging in, come down onto your pubic bone, onto the belly, onto the forehead. Hug in again, push up. Anybody who would prefer to do push-ups instead of these are welcome to. Exhale, slowly come down. So I want you to work here on trying to keep your back from arching too much in the lumbar spine when you come up. How do you do that? By pulling the belly in. Elbows in, get ready, inhale. Belly in, lower the scapula down on the back. Push, push, push. Lower the feet, hips come back, come into child's pose slowly. extending the spine there from the hips. And take 3 deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Big breath in. Moving onto the knees, tucking the toes, coming to downward facing dog. So when we're in down dog, we're not looking for a rounded back, but we want to push our shoulders back from the heel of our hands. So instead of looking back to your feet this time, I want you just to look straight down between your arms and get that sensation of still trying to plug the arms into the sockets. See if you can bring your heels onto the mat. And if you can, just walk your feet a little closer up so your down dog is a little shorter. Push the hips back and up. Pull the belly in. Inhale. Exhale, getting as much length as you can in the arm. And begin walking the feet forward toward the hands. Spread your feet about hip width apart. Hold opposite elbow. And just rock side to side a little bit. Keep your knees bent if that feels better to you. Inhale. Exhale. Now we're going to open our arms while we're down. Lift them to the side. Pull the belly in. Lift. Let the arms really help your torso position itself up onto your hip girdle. Exhale down. Anjali Mudra. Close the eyes. Stand for a moment in Tadasana. Appreciate this wonderful miracle of the skeleton. Feel the shoulders hanging from that wonderful construction of the clavicle. Bring your arms down to your sides. Swing them gently. Feel the symmetry with your pelvic girdle. Step your feet a little wider apart and just bend one knee and lift one hip and swing the arms a little bit. Look at that balance and the flexibility. And for all that upper body in so many ways mimics the patterns in the lower body. Good. Coming into Tadasana with our arms at our sides. Inhale. So notice what happens. Your palms are facing your thighs. In order to inhale, you have to open the chest cavity a little bit and bring the shoulder blades together. So you start that by opening the hands and externally rotating the upper arms, the shoulders. So if you start with your knuckles facing forward, look forward, take a deep breath and externally rotate as you lift. Bring the arms up, touch the palms, pull the belly in, Come to cactus arms. Elbows on the same level as the shoulders. Bend the knees a little bit. Step the left ball of the foot back into a crescent lunge. Inhale. Exhale. Keeping the arms the way they are. You're going to step the back foot back just a little more. Good. Open the arms and chest a little more. Keep the same angle. Slowly lower onto your left knee. Look down and creep the right foot forward. Use the toes. And now pushing forward so the knee can even come over the ankle here. Open the arms even wider in cactus pose. See if you can arc the back a little bit. In a nice extension, perhaps looking up. Inhale. Exhale. Hands come down on the mat. Lift the left foot off the mat. So this is optional, how far you go. All together, we should probably be able to lift the right arm and lift it up. Now you might just want to make a cactus arm here, a 90-degree angle, and open up the shoulder back here. Or you might feel that you can grab the toes on the left foot and open up not just the shoulder, but a little more of the chest. So remember about eating your Brussels sprouts. It's up to you. Notice what feels good. Notice what you're noticing. Inhale, maybe the right shoulder can come back a little more. Exhale, release. Come down onto the left hip. Slide the right foot down a little bit, but keep it on the mat. Right arm is back behind you. Try to straighten the spine. And you have two choices here. One is just to lift the right arm up and over the right ear, or you might come to a variation of Vashisthasana, where you slide the left leg all the way down and then come up on the pinky edge, keep the right foot on the mat, and bow over. Really protracting here in the left shoulder. Round onto the right hand, pivot the feet, step back in a plank, come to your knees, come forward, and we're going to lower down for 5. Elbows are just going to bend straight back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the toes. Cross one arm over the other. Rest your head, turning to one side. Inhaling and exhaling. One more breath. Exhale. Hands down by the low ribs. Pull the elbows in. Lift the chest, pull the belly in, tuck toes. Downward facing dog. So you want to feel that nice elongation under the arms. Looking straight down, hips back. So while the arms are retracted from their sockets, notice how the femur bones are protracted. Can you get the hip socket and the top of the femur bone more deeply pocketed? Exhale, walk it forward. Uttanasana. Bring the hands underneath the toes. The toes can come up to the wrists if you're comfortable with them that far. Bend the knees, elbows out to the side. Let the top of your belly rest on your thighs. Staring straight down, and then inhale. Straighten legs and arms to the degree possible. Look forward. If you need to keep a bend in the legs, that's okay. We're mainly paying attention to the arms. And exhale, let them go. Just one more time. A big breath here. Pull. Scapula are coming toward the sides of the back rather than meeting closer in the middle to the spine. And bend down. Release the hands. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, Anjali Mudra. Right leg is going to come back this time. I think that's, if I did the right leg, then do the other one. I can't remember. Cactus arms. Inhale. Exhale. Keep the shoulders above the hips. Don't be leaning forward. Don't be leaning back. Step the right foot back a little more. Find your drishti, belly in. Open the arms. And gaze lifts a little. Onto the right knee gently. Creep the left toes forward. And leaning both hips forward. Push. Open the chest. Feel the scapula coming together. Gaze up. Perhaps this time you can stretch your arms out all the way. Inhale. Exhale, hands down. Lift the right foot. So same as the other side, you just go as far as you want. You may lift forward and then up. Maybe you want to keep it that way. Maybe you want to lift back. Maybe you want to go for the toes. Whatever you're doing, you're trying to lift the left shoulder, pulling it back. You're using upper arm muscles, the deltoids, the shoulder muscles, the trapezius muscles from the neck to the upper back. 3 muscles that come together under the scapula. Twisting. Lower the foot. Lower the hand. Come down onto the right hip. The left foot slides down the mat. The toes are pointing out sideways. See what you can do to maybe pull the right hip a little down and elongate that right leg. Those toes are flexed. You're on the pinky edge. Right wrist is a little further out than the shoulder. So maybe you're going to stay here and just lift the left arm up and over the ear. Or maybe as you lift, you're going to pull in the belly, lift the head, and slowly pivot back to plank. Onto the knees. Child's pose. Inhale. And exhale. Take a few more breaths. Come up to all fours now. Walk the hands forward. Lower the elbows. Interlace the hands, bringing the pinkies to the mat. And lift the knees coming into dolphin pose. Straighten the legs as much as you can. If your elbows are not under your shoulders, pull them in a little bit. Push the hips back. Look toward your feet in dolphin. Push your arms down and try to isometrically pull your elbows in toward your toes. Breathe. Notice the hips moving forward. This is prep for handstands. Don't worry, we're not going to do that. Lower the heels toward the floor. Come to the hands and down dog. Step or hop forward. Lift up. Hold the arms at your sides. Flutter them a little bit. And now cross the right arm over the left. Bring your arms into Garudasana. So some people like to be back to back. Some people like to take the double bind. You choose. Lift the elbows up to shoulder height. And step the left foot back. So you're on the ball of the left foot. Bend the right knee a little bit. Get your stability. And you could keep the right knee bent a little bit. For me, this balance pose is easier if I straighten the right leg. So we are going to take a combination of dancer's pose and eagle pose. So dancer's pose with eagle arm. So keep the right knee bent for the moment. Lift the left leg slowly. This is where I like to straighten my right leg. Lift the left leg. Keep the elbows level with the shoulders. Point the left toes. Bend that leg up, up, up. Breathe. Squeeze the arms together. Exhale down. Circle the arms. And the other way. Big breath. Left arm crosses over right. Garuda arm. Shoulder blades separate. Elbows lift up to shoulder level. Right foot steps back. Come to the ball of the knees. Set yourself up here. Breathe. Bend the right leg. Point the toes up, lift the elbows. Come back down. Open the arms. Flutter your wings a little bit. Bring your hands interlaced behind your rear end. Soften into a smoother breath. Bend the knees. So hinging at the hips, right at the front of the thighs here. Lift the arms off your back and just begin to bend forward. Letting the gaze drift down to the mat. You can keep the knees bent. You can straighten them if that feels good to you. Feel the gravitational pull on the head. Arms perhaps are still moving a little further. Shoulder blades are really lifting. Up, up, up. Breathe. If you're uncomfortable at this point, gently lower your arms and then bring them into a forward fold. Lower the interlaced hands to the sacrum. Bring your fingertips or palms to the mat just in front of your feet. Lower down. Sit down. Come onto your backs. And bring your arms out to the sides. Lift the knees up to the chest. And then aim both the knees toward your right armpit. Trying to keep your left shoulder down on the mat. If you like, you can turn your head to the left. If you like, you can stretch your right arm out on top of the left thigh. And one more option is to take the left arm and angle it a little bit overhead, not next to your ear, but on the diagonal. Getting a really nice stretch from the left hip all the way through the left armpit and wrist. Even feel the stretch in the pinky. Open the fingers wide. Breathe. And back to center. Rock the hips back and forth for a moment. And the knees come over toward the left armpit. So you might notice that one shoulder has an easier time staying down than the other. You can let the feet slide around till they're comfortable. They don't have to be parallel, just one on top of the other. So left arm can come onto the top of the right thigh with palm up. Right arm can stretch out a little more at a diagonal. Still trying to keep the shoulder on the mat and even the right scapula. Turning the head as much as is comfortable toward the right. Find your breath. Connect with it. Lift back to center. Lower your feet to the mat. Arch the spine just a little bit and then flatten it. Bring the hands down at your sides. Knees pointing straight upward. We're just going to take a little bridge to pull the tailbone off the mat and then pull it toward the bottom of your mat, that direction. So we're not trying to get our hips high, just lengthening through the spine. Now lift the arms overhead. Keep the belly in. And slowly lower down. Stretch the legs out in front of you. Coming into Shavasana. Begin to let the breath soften. Feeling it in the chest, in that openness that you've created in the chest, the pectoral muscles, underneath the collarbones, the ribs, the side body. Notice your armpits and your upper arms. Notice the width in your shoulders. Maybe it even seems like your capacity for more intake of oxygen. Allow the breath to become softer as you sink into a well-earned rest. Feeling the back ribs on the mat, the spine, the natural lordotic curves behind the neck and the lumbar spine. Feel where your spinal bones, the vertebrae, are heaviest into the mat in a thoracic spine. Pretty much on a level between the scapula. So just the way in which our sacrum is cushioned between the pelvic bones, in that same way, our spine is kind of held between the scapula. Let the bones spread out. So scapulae are bones and joints. Some parts of the body are more than one thing. The heart is an organ, but it's also a muscle. Breathing and sinking and opening and releasing, letting go, easing, waves sinking into the sand at the shoreline. Each one coming in and sinking away. Feel the warmth underneath you. openness and the possibilities above and around you. Please feel welcome to stay in Shavasana for as long as you like. It's the best way to really reap the benefits of the practice. So I will sign out with an Om, and I thank you for joining me this evening. Om. Namaste.